So Sauvignon Blanc is even older than Pinot. And they have a parent-offspring relationship. One of is the father of the other. So you see, you have this picture of very old varieties. Sauvignon Blanc has been around for centuries or millennia. It traveled a lot. It was leaving babies on its path, on its way. And then did he go back home? I don't know. Probably not. It disappeared. For what reason? I have no idea.
Welcome to the Wine Podcast. I'm Suzanne Mustacich, and this is part 2 of my interview with Swiss botanist and grape DNA sleuth, José Vouillamoz. Okay, talking about spirituality and grapes, I was thinking about the Camino de Santiago, which is not just one path around Europe. There's lots of different pilgrimage routes. But what is the chances that it's historically accurate that the pilgrims, people walking or riding these paths, which were also almost like a tourist route in the Middle Ages, pilgrims, monks, regular people, could they have been bringing grapevines with them as well, or grape pips? Could that have impacted the wine grape map of Europe?
I think that this was not done by the pilgrims, but by the monks, because on the path you have abbeys, you have monasteries where pilgrims can stop and rest and get food and wine. And for the religious ceremonies, the monks need wine, so they were growing wine. And I believe, there is no historical evidence, unfortunately, but I believe that they were exchanging grapevines from one monastery to the other. So when they were building a new monastery, of course, they were introducing grapevines as well to make wine for the church, to make wine for the religious mass, and to provide it to the pilgrims. So for me, it's quite understandable that the Camino de Santiago was very important in terms of distribution of grapes.
You've got 2 books on grape varieties, Swiss grape varieties and French grape varieties. And now, are they available in English, either of these books?
So the one about Swiss grapes is the second edition. The first edition was in 2017, and it's available on Amazon, Kindle Publishing. And I will do the same in the coming weeks with the new edition.
I'm looking at the French varieties, and it's so good. I love all the illustrations you have, showing us the map of France and showing us where the different varieties were. And then you've got the family tree, which is so fascinating. It's so interesting to see, for instance, that Sauvignon is the parent of Chenin Blanc and Cabernet Franc and Sauvignon Blanc. Am I correct?
No, only Chenin and Sauvignon Blanc.
And then, because then Sauvignon Blanc pairs with Cabernet Franc to make Cabernet Sauvignon.
Exactly.
Okay. See, I think
which makes Sauvignon Blanc the grandfather of Cabernet Sauvignon. Who would think?
Okay. Who would think?
Yeah. No, this book was published in French last autumn, and I'm also looking for an editor, a publisher in English. I have already translated it by myself. It only needs to be proof read and published. It's ready to use, and nobody has been interested yet.
Well, I'm sure you're going to find somebody, because it's such a beautiful book, and I think that the story and as well as all the illustrations are really interesting, and a lot of people are going to find it really interesting to read.
Let me tell you the story about the Camino de Santiago.
Okay.
It's related to Sauvignon Blanc. Honestly, when I was writing the book, I had no idea of this fantastic page that I love about the link between Camino de Santiago and Sauvignon Blanc. Because I was trying to make a family tree of all the progenies, all the natural children, the natural offspring of Sauvignon. And it's so huge, with some obscure grape varieties that nobody has ever heard of, that are not even cultivated, that are today lost in a grape collection somewhere. And then I tried to figure out and said, well, if I look at where these obscure grape varieties are still grown today, it almost perfectly matches the roots of the Camino de Santiago.
That is so interesting.
It is fascinating. And I think that Sauvignon Blanc was a great traveler, because it had children in Austria, in Germany, in Switzerland, in France, of course, but also in Spain and in Portugal. It's the father of Verdejo. that you find on Madeira Island. How can you explain that it traveled? We think that Sauvignon Blanc originates from northern France because, for the same reason as Pinot Noir, another study about ancient DNA in grape seeds that were found in archaeological sites found a grape pip matching with Sauvignon Blanc that was 900 years old. So Sauvignon Blanc is even older than Pinot. And they have a parent-offspring relationship. One is the father of the other. So you see, you have this picture of very old varieties. Sauvignon Blanc has been around for centuries or millennia. It traveled a lot. It was leaving babies on its path, on its way. And then, did he go back home? I don't know. Probably not. It disappeared. For what reason? I have no idea.
That's really fascinating. Now, what do you think about the efforts amongst quite a few people now to preserve rare indigenous varieties?
So, of course, this is one of my favorite topics. And I'm a great defender of rare and obscure grape varieties for various reasons. The first one is that if our ancestors have struggled to keep them, there must be a reason. Because creating a new variety, we do it now in a laboratory. But I could create millions of grape varieties every year if I wanted. You only need to take a whole harvest, thousands of grape pips, you plant them, you have new varieties. And this happened before our modern times. This happened in the vineyard. You have a bird eating a berry, then flying, defecating the grape pips somewhere in another vineyard. Then you have a vine growing. Today it would be pulled out because it's not clean. Before, everything was intermixed, planted with no rule. So the plant could grow. After a few years, 3, 4, 5 years, depending on the plant, the first berries, then the wine grower must look at that saying, I'm going to taste it. Interesting. Oh, very good. I want 2 of these and I want more. So he would plant a row, then a vineyard. Then the neighbor would look and say, it's interesting what you have. What's the name? I don't know. Let's call it that way. Okay, give me some. And then the whole village, the whole region, and in the case of Chardonnay or Cabernet Sauvignon, the whole world. Grape variety started its life as a grape seed falling somewhere and building into a plant that was propagated. That's it. So there is only 1,500 or so grape varieties that are currently cultivated to make wine. It's not that much. If you consider that we could have millions since domestication, they have only kept the ones that were interesting. The other ones were pulled out. So this is empirical selection. Then I'm in the process of publishing a new book. The title will certainly be Wine Grapes Their Future or The Future. Don't know yet. It has been requested by the International Wine and Food Society.
Oh, fantastic.
It will be released in autumn, I hope.
Great.
Small book for the general public. And in this book, I address all the questions regarding the future of wine grapes, including climate change, including genetic engineering, including crossings, hybrids, the effect of climate change on viticulture, and especially on grape varieties. And one of the chapter is obviously about the ancient and rare grape varieties, because we have many examples of old, obscure grape varieties that were abandoned, rescued by some people who believed in them. You just need to think about Sagrantino in Italy, almost abandoned, and Arnaldo Caprai was believing in it, and today they have their own appellation, and they can sell worldwide very expensive wines made of this grape variety. So they have been selected, first of all. They have already been through a lot of different climates since the Middle Ages. They have been through...
So they're resilient. So there's a real reason to keep them.
Yeah, they are resilient because we had the optimum climate in the Middle Ages. It was much warmer than before. Then the Little Ice Age, many vineyards disappeared. Southern England lost, Northern Brittany lost. And today we are obviously much higher than the medieval optimal, and we could plant anywhere. And these grape varieties have already experienced these climates, and they could be one of the solutions.
So there's definitely grapes alive today that could disappear before we've had a chance to study them, and that might be to our detriment.
Of course, one that is very famous, maybe not so exciting in terms of winemaking, but very important in terms of genetics. It's also in my book about French grapes. It's the parent of Merlot. I don't remember if it's the father or mother, doesn't play a big role. but it's called Madeleine Noire des Charentes. And only 8 vines were surviving in France. 1 in Brittany, 4 in Charentes, 3 in Gers, southern France. All were ancient vines growing in front of houses or lost in the forest, and nobody cared of them. You wait another 10 or 20 years, they are gone. And this was the missing link in the parentage of Merlot. Merlot is a natural child, spontaneous crossing between Cabernet Franc and Madeleine Noire des Charentes, which has almost disappeared. And this Madeleine Noire des Charentes was really important because it crossed with another grape called Prunelard, not very important, in the Tarn region. And it gave birth to a grape that is called Co or Cot. Wine experts know what this is. Wine drinkers know as well, but not under this name because it's in the name of Malbec. So you see, this Madeleine Noire des Charentes.
It's really important. How did they know that this handful of vines still existed?
Well, they first found the one in Brittany. These are my colleagues in France, INRA in Montpellier, Jean-Michel Boursicot and Thierry Lacombe and their team. And the first vine in Brittany, they had no idea what it was. Then they found 4 vines in Charentes, all 4 identical, but also identical to the one from Brittany. And they thought, wow, that's weird. And then 3 others in Gers, and they thought we need to give it a name, Madeleine Noire des Charentes, because it's ripe at Sainte Madeleine, which is July 22nd. It's usually ripe, so they called it that way. And this was really the missing link. And thanks to this guy, Madeleine Noire des Charentes, we have Merlot and we have Malbec. Can you imagine, economically speaking, the amount of money that these grapes are producing? And this variety was almost dead. So I thought to myself, and I asked my colleague, we should plant Madeleine Noire again and try to make one. And he said, we did. It's super early, dull. It lacks acidity. It lacks tannin. It lacks everything. And once again, it's an example of a variety with bad qualities, bad reputation, getting married with a good variety called Cabernet Franc and having a child like Merlot.
Which has been a huge success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's en primeur season right now, and this episode is brought to you by Ideal Wine, specialists in fine wine and auctions. They're based in France with over 25 years' experience shipping the finest Bordeaux all around the world, including the US, the UK, and all over Europe, as well as Hong Kong, Singapore, Korea, and more.
And international clients can enjoy 6 months of complimentary storage in France for all en primeur purchases over 3,000 euros, so you can ship when it suits best.
Ideal Wine have kindly given a special discount that is only available for Jane Anson podcast listeners. You can enjoy €50 off your first en primeur purchase just by using the code Jane Anson.
And do sign up for the website to receive alerts when the wine you want is released and enjoy personalized advice from their very experienced team.
There's more information and some terms and conditions in the show notes below. So let's get on with the podcast.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ideal Wine.
So let's talk a little bit about Switzerland. So you're Swiss. You've done a lot to promote Swiss wines. You've written a book about Swiss varieties. Tell us what is amazing and unique about Swiss wines. They have a lot of great varieties, and often the wines are blends of a lot of varieties. You have a favorite?
Well, this is like for the children. You don't ask if you have a favorite or not. But we would need another 2 hours of podcast if we were to speak about Swiss wines in detail, which I would be happy to do next time. But first of all, what I want to say is that Swiss wine does not exist. And this is a provocation on purpose. Because if you taste a red from Burgundy and you're a good taster, you can say, wow, this is from Burgundy. Or you taste a Bordeaux, typical Bordeaux, this is Bordeaux. You taste a Swiss wine, you cannot say this is a Swiss wine. Because Switzerland has been separated in 6 wine regions, officially 6. The biggest one, the largest one is Valais, where I happen to live, surrounded by vineyards. Then comes Vaud, Geneva, Ticino, where they speak Italian. The German-speaking part of the country, you have Zurich, Schaffhausen, all together. And then Neuchâtel and Three Lakes, which is the smallest. So if you compare a Merlot from Ticino, Merlot is very famous in Ticino, and a Pinot from Graubünden, which is in the German-speaking part, these are 2 typical. They have nothing in common. So you cannot say that they are typically Swiss. So this is the big picture. But then when you go in the field of grape varieties, I go crazy. And I'll always say that. I go crazy. Switzerland is approximately 15,000 hectares. Approximately. When I wrote a book, the first edition of my book in 2017, they had 252 grape varieties officially cultivated. And I said, guys, you're crazy. 15,000 hectares is almost like Alsace. Alsace is officially growing 10. So stop. We need to simplify it. We need to have a vision. We need to go somewhere. This was 17. 8 years later, I write the second edition. And this is evidence that nobody's listening to me. They have 320, which is ridiculous.
Well, actually, it's ridiculous, but it makes me really happy. It makes me really happy that they're sticking to their grapes. They're like, no.
No, it's not. No. It's ridiculous because they are importing.
Oh, they're importing.
Yeah, hybrids from Germany, hybrids from the US, crossings from there. So let's try Tanat. Let's try Sangiovese.
Okay, so I'm less excited about that.
I made a few categories in Swiss grapes, and my favorite one is obviously not really the indigenous, because let me explain. Because indigenous means born in the place. Right. And Swiss guys have been making a lot of crossings and hybrids recently over the past 5 decades. It's not my type of wine. Respect those who plant it, cultivate it, drink it. It's not my type. What I prefer is what I call heritage varieties. Varieties that were born naturally, spontaneously in the vineyards and selected by our ancestors. There are some very well-known, of course, Chasselas, most famous, that is called Fondant in Valais. Valais, where I live, we have Arvine or Petite Arvine that I'm sure you have already tried, which is the beloved variety of many, many people. In Graubünden, there is Completer. Maybe you've never tried it. We can try once. Also cultivated since the Middle Ages. These are the ones that I cherish. And these are the ones that you cannot find anywhere else.
So they're part of a unique culture.
Absolutely.
I think that's why they're important.
They are part of our DNA, if I may say.
Yeah. So I have 2 questions you kind of looking forward.
Yeah.
One is about AI. What do you think AI will bring to your work and the knowledge and identification of grape varieties? Will it help you?
Well, I had a chance to write a short article for the Circle of Wine Writers recently, the Circle of Wine Writers, as you already know. And I wanted to understand what was the impact of AI with Ampelography. And of course, it can help with breeding programs to try to select quicker which parents you should take for the new hybrids if you want them to be resistant to fungal diseases or to drought or to anything that climate change will bring us. You can also edit the genome in the vineyard, which is far away from here, but mostly what I'm interested in is the capacity of identifying the grapes with images. And identifying with images is something that could be very powerful, but would require a lot of training. A lot of training because I'm not an expert in AI, but I've always read that a 3 or 4 years old child, you show him 3 or 4 pictures of a cat and he knows what a cat is. AI, you need to show him 10,000 pictures of cats. And again, you give him a dog, he might say it's a cat. That's what I've read. So my dream...
the idea that maybe to have an app, that people could use an app to take a photo. Yeah.
That is my dream. And I have the name of the app already.
What is it?
Grape This.
Grape This. Okay, good. Okay, we're going to look for the app.
Because there is an app called Plant This.
Okay. So perfect.
Another one about mushroom. Is it mushroom this, or it could be? So this would be Grape This. And I would love us, wine writers or wine lovers or professionals, winemakers, or even amateurs going in a vineyard and be able to identify a grape by a picture. But this would require a huge database. Because if you look at the plant and you look at the leaves, do it one day at harvest time. You look at the leaves at the starting point of the branch of the shoot and at the top of the shoot, and you look at their shape. They are different. The number of lobes can be different. The color is different. The bubbles on the leaf can be different. So we need to teach the AI all of this. So
think about how many wine lovers are out around the globe with a phone. that could gather a lot of information.
Yes, as long as they know what they are taking in picture. You need to have a reference. You can take 1 million pictures if you don't have the name. You need to go in a grape collection, a reference at INRA in France or Geisenheim in Germany, and we say, okay, this is Merlot, and you need to take all the pictures of all the leaves at different stages. And maybe you need to take some in spring, some in autumn, because it will change. You need to take the shoots, the bunches, everything.
So it's actually fairly complicated.
Yeah, but I would love it.
Okay. So if we were having this conversation 10 years from now, what discovery do you think grape DNA research is most likely to make? Or what question do you personally hope we can answer 10 years from now?
Well, what is the main problem that we're facing in viticulture? I mean, not in the wine world, because wine consumption is one of the biggest problems. It's another story. But in the wine world, with climate change, we face more pressure of fungal diseases, more pressure of drought. We will need maybe to replace varieties. We will need to use gene editing to cope with climate change and to this increase of we call it biotic and abiotic pressure. So living organisms like mushrooms will attack the plant, and drought, which is not living, will also attack the plant. And to answer your question, there is already the possibility of creating genetically modified varieties, genetically modified Merlot or Pinot or whatever, that is resisting to almost all of the stuff we don't like. It's already possible.
Which means we wouldn't have to put pesticides or any kind of vine treatments on them.
Almost nothing. And I don't have a crystal ball, but I've heard some experts in AI saying that by 2040 or 2050, all the human diseases will have disappeared thanks to AI. I've read that. The same people say that the human who will live 1,000 years of age is already born.
Oh, that's extraordinary.
It's shocking. I don't know if all.
So we'll have the same. So we'll have the same knowledge for plants. They won't have diseases anymore.
Yeah. So I believe that we will resort to AI to fight against what we don't like in viticulture, which means diseases and stress. And at one point, I think that people, maybe I contradict myself because I was thinking that with AI, people get more knowledgeable, but I think it's the opposite. I think it's the opposite. Because I'm not advocating in favor of genetically modifying or not. I'm advocating on studying case by case. What is the risk, and to have a balance, risk and benefit.
Yeah, it's also about not poisoning our water supply, our food supply, the soil. Yeah.
What is the most important? Because if everything is controlled and you have a genetically modified Merlot that is resisting to everything, and there is almost no risk for the human health. We never know. Risk zero does not exist. But compared to other things, compared to the alcohol that will be produced from Merlot, it's nothing for the human health. Let's be clear. Then all the pesticides, all the chemicals that will be in the water that will interfere with our development, with also the sexual reproduction of humans, of our new generation, make a risk and benefit balance and take a decision. Maybe in 10 years from now, we'll say, okay, we use genetic modification. AI will help us a lot. Well, this is only my first idea.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's an interesting thing. I think we're all thinking about how things are going to change and in what direction, what questions we want answered. And I think that's a great one. How to have a cleaner food production. How do we have food production or wine production that doesn't poison the soil and the air and the water? That would be a great answer to have. That would be a fantastic one.
That would be. Or maybe if you think of Elon Musk, he might say that in 10 years from now, all the vineyards and all the wineries will be worked by robots. And even if there is pollution, it's not a problem because we will only sit in the couch and drink wine that robots will have made because we will not have to work anymore. That's the kind of theory that this guy is making.
Yeah, but that doesn't solve, putting robots in the fields doesn't solve the problem of polluting the ground water and the soil and the air.
Of course.
Okay. Well, this has been really fascinating. It's always fascinating to talk to you and hear what you're up to.
Thank you. Thank you. My
We will
pleasure.
definitely check back in with you about Swiss varieties. I think that would be a fantastic topic. So thank you for joining us. Good luck with your books, with all of your books. And people should definitely look for the one that's coming out in the fall from the International Food and Wine Society. Is that one going to be available online? Is it sold through their website or Amazon? What will they do? Do you know?
It's sold on Amazon. It's sold through their website. It will be sold through mine, and also
Okay.
it is going to be very small, 80 pages, around
fantastic.
80 pages.
I've seen other books of that size that they've published, and they're always done really well.
Very easy reading, and and people who read that and want to have me for a masterclass conference or talking about new books, I'm open.
Fantastic. Sounds like a great idea. Well, thank
Okay.
you. Okay.
Thank you,
bye.
Suzanne. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me today on the Wine Podcast. I hope you'll check out all of our podcasts on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Thanks.
This podcast is produced in partnership with Wine Voices, brought to you by Wine Searcher, the world's largest online wine and spirits database.
With Wine Searcher Pro, you can see all the search results, guaranteeing the lowest prices, and you can unlock powerful tools to search, compare, and discover more about the wines that you want.
And right now, you can get a 10% off a 12-month pro subscription with the code JaneWS at checkout.
That's Jane WS. It's just a little thank you for being part of our Wine Voices community and for tuning in here.
Follow the link in the description to begin your journey with Wine Searcher.
And thank you. Please come back for the next podcast.
That's right. See you then.